Hey everybody, Ryan here. Today I'm just going to show you three ways of reversing a string, a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced way of reversing a string. So let's just dive into it. We're just starting out at the top of our script with just a string that says hello world. The beginner way is kind of a cheap way, but it does work. We are taking our string. Some people I've seen use string.split. This works. The only problem is that it's not 100% compliant with Unicode. There can be bugs. So I found this Stack Overflow answer where basically if you use the split and you're having like emojis or just other characters like this guy uses in his example, like a Chinese character, it won't work. It results in these weird question mark things. So another method someone posted was to use the new ES6 spread operator, and you can use array.from. This guy's. I'll link this in the description. There's several methods of splitting a string into an array that are Unicode compliant. However, here I'm just using the spread operator, so we're taking our string, we're spreading it into a brand new array, and then I'm just using the array reverse method, and then I'm joining it back up into a string. It's kind of cheating. It's not really how you'd want to do it. Well, for this it doesn't really matter, but if it's asked in an interview, that's not what they're really looking for, I don't think, usually, I guess. Okay, moving on. The intermediate way is we are basically just calling this reverse string function I made, and then we're console logging it out. So inside a reverse string, let's close this guy out. We're taking in our string. I'm doing the same method here where I have a new array and I'm spreading out the string into the array, and then using reduce to accumulate a new string that will be the reverse string. So what I'm doing inside of reduce, I'm grabbing my accumulator, my character, my index, and the original array. I'm basically just taking the accumulator and I'm adding the last letter in the array first. So I'm taking the original array.length and I'm subtracting 1 from it, or I'm subtracting the index actually, but I'm adding 1 to the index because length is not 0 based. Length is 1 based. It starts at 1 instead of 0, like index is 0 based. So I'm adding 1 to index to make it 1 based also. And so I'm subtracting. So say we're at the beginning of the array, I'm going to grab the letter at the array.length minus 0, so the very last letter, and that's going to be in the accumulator. So we're going to accumulate, like, basically we're just going to take the back part of the array and then put it into this string, and then so on and so on. And so what we end up with there is the same result. So I run this, same deal. Okay, cool. So the advanced one, and this, I call it advanced, but it's not like it's better than the intermediate version. It's the same, you get the same result, and either one is kind of interchangeable. This is just more of an iterative approach, and then this is a recursive approach. And so this one is, if you really want to look cool and fancy, you can use a recursive approach to it, and it does look pretty clean, but it's not like it's better than the iterative approach. So same deal, we're calling reverse string recursive. A recursive function, if you don't know, is a function that calls itself. And so when you have a function that calls itself, you can end up with all these infinite loops if you don't have some kind of exit clause. And so that's what we have in here. Every recursive function needs to have an exit clause, which means if a particular value is passed into that function, we actually need to return a value. We can't return another call to that function, or we can't call that function again. Maybe you can, I guess. I'm not 100% sure. But it's basically, you need something at some point, an actual value needs to be returned. And so one of the best ways to reason about these exit clauses is thinking at what's the minimal amount of thing that needs to be in the string, that needs to be passed in, that then can get passed out, that we actually know what the value of it will be. So if it's an empty string that gets passed in, the reverse of an empty string is just an empty string. So if we have an empty string in here, I'm just going to return the string char at 0, which would just be the empty string. So that's our exit clause, but most of the time we're going to be calling the same function again. So here's where we're actually doing things with our recursive function. I'm taking the string.slice. So what slice does is it creates a new string from the old string, slicing at a particular index. So I'm slicing from index 1, which means the first letter is getting cut off. So if I were to say the string were hello, the slice is just creating the string LO, right? So we're creating the string LO and we're passing that into the recursive function. And then we are also adding on top of that on top of the LO, we're adding string.char at string 0, so the first letter. So if you really want to think of it, it would be like LO plus H, right? And then you go down one more, and it would be LLO plus O, or no, wait, yeah, or E plus H. So you see how it's slowly reversing the string to where it gets down to the bottom, and then it bubbles back up. So I have this console log here to try to demonstrate that. Run that, and you'll see how we're just console logging what's getting passed in. So we have hello world, cutting off the first letter, cutting off the first letter, and it goes all the way down until it hits the empty string. And then it actually prints out the empty string here, and then it exits with the empty string, and then it goes back up the tree, or up the stack, and rebuilds our string in reverse. So that's it for that one. I hope you guys liked this video. Hope it wasn't too confusing. Recursion is a tricky subject. I feel like I kind of understand it now, but I still get confused by it. So if you're kind of confused by it, don't feel bad. Human beings aren't very good at thinking recursively about operations. We're very good with iteration. That makes a lot of sense. That's very intuitive, but recursive operations can be a little trickier. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't fully understand it right away. Just keep looking at it, and hope eventually you'll start wrapping your head around it. That's it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. Please like, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.